Hello folks, today's video is all about telepathy and something called morphic resonance. And if you think about what Nikola Tesla said, one of my favourite people of all time, he says, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency and vibration. So I just want to sort of touch upon how our thoughts, our electrical field is interacting with everything around it all the time. So if we think about it, we interact with other people, with animals, with our surroundings as well. So I have numerous examples of times that I have interacted with other people or animals or my surroundings. So one of the times was I was at Avebury Stone Circle, and I almost felt the stone speaking to me and saying, I want to sing through you. And what happened was I started singing for the stones, and it was almost like they wanted my voice that was, picking it up from the stones. They wanted me to do that. I know it sounds pretty far out, but that's what happened. On another occasion, I was making some little fairy dolls. I used to do that as a living, making little craft fairies with children. And I was there and I made about 6 in a row, and each one was a weather fairy. So I made a blue sky fairy, the sky turned blue. I made a sunshine fairy, and the sun came out. I made a rain fairy, and it started raining. So I really do think that our thoughts, our intentions are constantly interacting with what is around us. Recently, I was in a ceremony on the tour, and we were talking about freedom, and we were calling in the air element. And there was a beautiful kite just gliding above our heads. It just came in just perfectly on cue. Another example of this is animals, and they're very telepathic. So about 3 minutes before I come home, anybody who's in my house reports to me that my dog started to whine and, start to react. And it's always about 3 minutes before I get home. And it's also when I'm walking, it isn't just the sound of my car. So, that's amazing. And somebody called Sheldrake, Rupert Sheldrake, has talked about this it's something called morphic resonance. So in terms of the quantum field, quantum physics, I'm not an expert on this, by the way, but I just know, so I'm just interested in it. What happens is something when you have thoughts, there can be entanglements happening. So another example of this was I was just thinking about a friend, and then I bumped into her today. And how many times have you thought of someone and then they ring you or they get in touch with you out of the blue? It's quite amazing, isn't it? So in quantum physics, everything is interrelated, and you have something called the morphic field. So, this can be proven, and there's been experiments in quantum physics when objects even, they react differently when you look at them and you observe them. So I'll just give an example. When I used to work in a shop, I would look at an object and I would think, how beautiful is that? Or a skirt, whatever it was. And that is very often, that will be the thing that sells. So it's like you give it the attention, and somehow it's giving out a different resonance, a different energy. And then somebody comes along and buys it. It's quite incredible. So all of our attention, our thoughts, it are constantly interacting with everything around us. And I find that absolutely incredible. And if only we would trust that more like animals do, trust our intuition. It would save us a lot of heartache and a lot of difficulty, wouldn't it? If we just completely trusted our gut reactions to things, it would save us an awful lot of harm and things, wouldn't it? So what about your thoughts? Have you had any telepathy, any telepathic experiences? I'll just mention one more thing. Well, some of you may have seen that I sometimes make videos down at Dion Fortune's grave. You may have heard of Dion Fortune. She's buried here in Glastonbury. I had a very strange experience the first time I went to her grave, and I realised that she wanted to speak to me through spirit. She wanted me to write things down, and she was saying, well, my books are done and dusted. I've done those. They're kind of dead entities. I am a living being. I'm a living entity. At Dion Fortune's grave, I have actually experienced some strange things. It feels a bit like a portal to me, of some kind. You ever felt a portal? That's very strange. There seems to be one in Chalice Well between. There are two yew trees, and if you stand there and close your eyes, you kind of feel transported somewhere else. So that's another way of kind of heightening our awareness and our telepathic gifts, is going to places, sacred places. It seems to heighten them. And another experience I had when I was a child, and children seem to be quite naturally, a bit like animals, seem to be very naturally gifted with telepathy. And we were in this big green van. Me and my dad would go to places. We would drive around in this van. And one time we were driving to Cornwall, and I said to Dad, he was going to park up in a lay-by, and I just said to him, Dad, don't go there, don't go to that lay-by. And I don't know why I said that. And he proceeded to go and park in this lay-by, and before long the whole green van was starting to subside into the mud, and we had to call the local farmer, who managed to pull us out. But yeah, it just shows, when you don't follow that intuition or that telepathic message, that often we get it right and we're proved right. So have you had any telepathic experiences? If so, I'd love to hear about them. And have you heard of the term morphic resonance? I guess everything is resonating all the time, and we're like conductors and transmitters as well, as is every living thing on the planet, every rock, every plant, every animal, every cloud. Anyway, I could go on and on, but it all comes back to the fact that everything is part of the same oneness. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, and thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This is Amanda Ambles, who's just rambling. She's not ambling. It's a little bit too hot to go outside. I've done a fair bit of gardening this morning, but I'm chilling now and just reflecting on telepathy and energy, frequency and vibration. You take care. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.